Hi, family. We're back for the final installment of our Plan B series. Today, I'll present part 2 of creating your plan in a foreign country. As was mentioned in our last video, over 300,000 people are leaving the U.S. every year for good, and we're not talking about poor people. It turns out that more high net worth home buyers than ever are seizing the opportunity to live overseas. According to data from the 2022 Coldwell Banker Global Luxury Report, a whopping 92% of wealthy Americans are actively looking to relocate abroad. Wow. Why are they leaving? Because they see the handwriting on the wall. They're leaving because of taxes and tyranny. They make a lot of money, and just like you, they don't want to give 50% of it to the insidious representatives of Satan. The difference is, these people started their Plan B over a year ago or even decades ago, and they got to the point of implementing their plan in just a few years. Anyone can get dual citizenship. You don't have to give up your U.S. passport unless you want to. Also, there are many countries that will let you live there perpetually. You just have to leave every so often, even if you don't go back to your home country. Then you can come back. I don't care for that method, and I'll explain why. In Costa Rica, you can live as a non-resident. However, you have to leave the country every 90 days, going anywhere outside of Costa Rica for just a few days. Then you can come back where you're staying. But during COVID, when U.S. citizens' 90-day periods were up, they had to leave, but they couldn't come back unless they were residents. So many people were stuck in limbo for months or even for that 2-year period before they were able to go back into the home that they had established in Costa Rica. I'd rather get the residency because residents didn't have to leave. And if your residency application was in process, you could come back. It's not too late for you to start your plan, but time is of the essence as things in the U.S. deteriorate rapidly and there's talk of a new health crisis situation on the horizon. In part 1, we learned how to choose your country and aim towards residency. Here, we'll discuss 4 methods to obtain passports and usually residency in other countries. Shout out again to the Sovereign Man for his wonderful research and free articles. Let me say that in most cases, when you obtain passports in another country, you also obtain residency. But don't hold me to that being the case 100% of the time. The first method is ancestry. If you are blessed enough to have ancestors from the right country, you might be eligible for almost free second citizenship by descent. The simplest way to get a passport via ancestry is by proving that you have parents, grandparents, or in some cases even great-grandparents from an eligible country. For these eligible people, they may be able to obtain a second passport in a shorter period of time and at a fraction of the cost that must be paid with other methods. If you research and find that great-grandma is from one of the eligible countries, you should explore that option first if you're interested in getting a passport there. According to the Sovereign Man, examples of countries which often grant citizenship to the descendants of immigrants are Armenia, England, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Portugal, and a few more. Requirements for eligibility vary from country to country, but you'll usually have to demonstrate clear lineage between you and your ancestors, and you must prove that those ancestors never renounced or lost their citizenship. Call and set up a meeting with your local consulate for that country to further investigate your eligibility. It could take a while to get an appointment because most countries move much slower than even our U.S. government moves. But while you wait, start gathering documented proof that you are indeed a rightful descendant and that you haven't violated any laws in your home country. Most countries require an FBI-type background check right from the gate. And since getting that report can take time, you may want to order it before you call the consulate. Make copies and even get transcripts of all important documents so that your meeting will go smooth and quick. Some of the items that you'll most likely need are your birth certificate and that of any children that are minors in your household, a marriage and/or divorce certificate if applicable, and passports for yourself and any children that you have. You'll also need birth certificates, naturalization certificates, and death certificates for those ancestors on both your maternal and paternal lines, going all the way back to the ancestor that you're relying on for citizenship. That's as in-depth as I want to go with that method because likely most of us don't qualify. But here's a tip. If you have roots in the Caribbean, if you still have relatives in the Caribbean, you may have hope. Research your parents and grandparents and see if you might have a claim to land in places like Jamaica, Bermuda, the Bahamas, and Dominica. The second method is time. After you've lived in a country long enough, you can become eligible for a second passport through naturalization. Here's how that usually works. In most countries around the world, you can obtain citizenship by first becoming a legal resident and then maintaining that residency for a certain number of years, usually 3 to 5 years, although some countries make it harder than others for foreigners to obtain residency and citizenship. One of the shortest time waits is Argentina. There you could apply for citizenship after just 2 years of legal residency. In some countries like Panama and Dominican Republic, you don't even need to actually spend large amounts of time in the country before you are eligible to apply for a second passport. But best practices would have you to be able to demonstrate mastery of the language and strong bonds to the country in order to be approved. Countries with shorter waiting periods are great options for people who don't want to upend their lives right away, but want to be assured a place to go no matter what happens in the world. Keep in mind, however, that residency and passport opportunities change frequently. They are heavily subject to the laws of supply and demand and whoever won the latest election in that country. So it's important to start taking these steps as soon as you're sure of the country in which you want to settle down. Act while they are still open to foreigners. Third is money. This involves taking advantage of citizenship by investment programs to legally buy citizenship and acquire a second passport. That's my best option for Costa Rica, and here's how it works. The fastest and usually most expensive way to acquire a second passport and residency is through investing money in the country in exchange for a passport. It's called economic citizenship or citizenship by investment, and it's a legitimate way to buy a second passport and citizenship. These programs come in a few different forms. The first is that you make an outright donation to the government in exchange for citizenship. Some countries offer this option, but many don't. Second is that you make an actual investment in property, financial instruments, or businesses within a pre-screened and pre-selected set of investment opportunities. These can range from a couple of $100,000 to several $1 million. Third is a requirement that you invest a set minimum amount of money in real estate or in a business. Here, I'll share Costa Rica's current requirement with you as an example. Costa Rica's temporary residency program applies to individuals who make a direct investment in Costa Rica of at least $150,000 US. The investment can be made in any type of business or real estate. The applicant must prove that the amount already invested, not the current or future value, has a registered or verifiable value of at least $150,000. The investment can be made in any type of business, including manufacturing, transportation, hospitality like hotels, Airbnbs, bars, restaurants, the tourism industry like tours, nature walks, amusement, and adventure type parks, commercial real estate, and non-commercial real estate. The non-commercial real estate option allows home purchases as an acceptable investment for the purpose of applying for residency, provided the amount invested is at least $150,000. This type investment can include not only the purchase price of a home in Costa Rica for personal use, but also the purchase of land held for future development or for preservation, including ecological, environmental, or watershed preservation purposes. The investor can apply for permanent residency after being a temporary resident for 3 years. Citizenship by investment is certainly not for everyone because of the steep price. For a lot of people, it might make more sense just to acquire residency in a country and let time work for them until naturalization. However, if you find that citizenship by investment is right for you, there are several options that offer passports of varying quality. The Caribbean has other active citizenship by investment programs that will grant you and your family citizenship starting in the low 100,000s for singles and mid 100,000s for a family of 4. St. Lucia, as well as Antigua and others, had even gone on COVID sale in an attempt to attract economic citizens to their countries, which rely primarily on tourism and have been hit hard by the pandemic lockdowns and travel restrictions. You'll have to check to see if these fire sale prices are still available if you select one of these countries for your Plan B. According to the Sovereign Man, these Caribbean passports are of decent quality. They rank between B and B- in the Sovereign Man Passport Index. But the highest quality and higher priced passports by investment are from Europe. And fourth is flexibility. These are the unconventional ways of getting a second passport, such as giving birth in a foreign country, marrying a foreign citizen, or even changing your religion. If you don't have the right ancestors, have no intention of moving abroad for many years, and you don't want to invest money in acquiring a second passport, there's one more option for you. If you're willing to be flexible, you can acquire citizenship abroad in a number of different ways. You can get a second passport through marriage. Most countries will loosen the requirements for citizenship if you marry a citizen from that country. In most cases, you'll still be required to live in that country where you're looking to get citizenship, but being married to a citizen of the country will usually make it a lot easier and quicker for you to become eligible. Next, you can get a second passport by adopting a child or giving birth to a child in a country that grants citizenship to everyone born on its territory, the so-called jus soli. Some countries have fairly lenient requirements for residency and eventually citizenship for persons who are legal guardians of citizens of that country. Brazil is an example. Immediately after your newborn's birth, you, your spouse, and your other children have the right to apply for residency of indefinite term, which grants you the right to stay, live, and work within Brazil. After securing residency, 1 year later, you can apply for citizenship. You'll need to pass a Portuguese language test and then wait for a few months for the Brazilian government to process your citizenship application. So within 2 years of having a baby in Brazil, your entire family would have a second passport in hand. For more countries that provide simple ways to get citizenship and passports, you can visit thesovereignman.com and look for all of the wonderful reports that will guide you in your search for a Plan B in a location other than your own country. Finally, I'll say a little about giving up your U.S. passport or doing what's called expatriation. U.S. citizens are the only people in the world, together with Eritreans, who have to pay taxes on their worldwide income, no matter where they live in the world. And if you're a U.S. citizen, simply eliminating your U.S. tax burden alone could offset the cost of a new passport very quickly. If you acquire citizenship and residency in a country with a low or no tax, you could completely eliminate taxes, legally and forever. However, many find ways to reduce the tax while abroad and keep their U.S. passport as some type of a security blanket. In my premium training, I discuss how to live offshore and drastically reduce taxes but that's a topic for another time and place. Thank you for riding along with me on our adventure through creating a Plan B without losing your mind. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And remember to go over to wakethepeople.com and register on my private platform so that come July 1st, you'll receive my uncensored financial teaching straight from the source. Until next time, this is Sherry Peel Jackson signing out.